Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chrissy and this is Barefoot in the Garden. For those of you who are subbies, welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome. We do a lot of gardening around here. Some chicken stuff, some homesteading stuff, a little bit of everything. But today I'm gonna be taking up these elephant ear tubers. They've been growing all year since the beginning of spring, and now they got hit by our frost. So we're gonna be storing them over winter. The tool of choice today is this little mini, I wanna say it's like a 4-foot digging fork shovel deal. It's very useful. I've used it a lot. I'm actually about to snap the handle here by pressing too hard, but I think I paid $15 for her at Walmart sometime last year, and she's been hanging in there. She was perfect for this job. So I'm just going around the perimeter of the bulbs, making sure that I'm about 6 inches off of the plant so that I don't risk puncturing any of the tubers. You want to make sure that you don't damage them, because that can stunt the fact that if they bloom for you in the spring. I also think that puncturing the tuber can cause rot when you're storing them away. So just make sure you're far enough out that you don't have any accidents and, mistakenly puncture a really nice sized tuber. I noticed when digging that not only do you need to go far out enough, as in the 6 inches away from the base of the plant, but you also want to make sure that you're digging deep enough down underneath the plant to get those roots, to loosen those roots from the soil, because they are in there pretty deep. So go 6 inches out and about maybe 1.5 feet deep before you start to pull up on the plant, because you don't want to snap any of those tubers while struggling, to get them out of the soil. And they were looking so healthy. I was able to kind of just like pull up on the tubers individually, and they kind of just snapped right out of place, and they didn't give me too much of a struggle. I was under the impression that I was gonna need to kind of get my garden shears out and snip the roots away, but the soil was moist enough when I dug them out that they came apart pretty easily. This second cluster here was a little bit drier than the first cluster, so as I was looking over it trying to figure out how I was going to separate them, I came to the quick decision that I was going to need to hose it down with some water first. And once again, just yanking them apart. It's kind of like spaghetti noodles. They get like mixed in with each other, and you just have to yank on them a little bit and they should separate really easily. So after digging them up and washing them off, now I'm gonna trim off all of the roots. Some people store them away with the roots still intact. Some people choose to cut them off. For whatever reason, I'm choosing to cut mine off. I just feel like this is the best route to go. I haven't done a lot of research on overwintering elephant ears. I'm just using my own skill set and my own bit of knowledge that I do have, and I'm just kind of winging it. So we'll see how it goes. But this is one of the biggest ones that I harvested, and it's bigger than my hand. It weighs a couple pounds, and there's a lot of roots, as you can see. So I'm just going to trim them off and do the same with the rest of them, and we'll move on to the next step. Trimming back the stalk is what you're going to want to do before you store them away. You want to cut a couple of inches, maybe 2 at the most, from the base of the tuber, not anything too specific and crazy, just, you know, measure out with your eyes about 2 inches and then snap off the entire base of the plant. I'm just peeling back this layer of almost like rotted skin that comes from the foliage that grows up off of the tuber. I feel like that might cause some rot going into the winter, so decided to take that off. You see, it's bigger than my hand, probably weighing in at 5 pounds. My oldest wanted to lend me a hand, so I allowed her to wash off any of the excess mud and dirt that was on the tubers, and then we arranged them on some baskets that we found around the yard just for them to dry before we put them in a dark room for the rest of the winter. I allowed them to get some sun. So they didn't dry completely the first day because it was cold outside and it was just not evaporating. They were just staying wet for the next couple hours before the sunset. So I brought them out the next day and I allowed them to dry up as much as they could. And then I'm gonna bring them inside. We're gonna lay them on some towels in a dark room to try to get all the excess moisture out at that point. We have all the elephant ears dug up. They're drying now. When they're done drying, we're gonna bring them inside, put them in our extra room to store them for the winter, and hopefully when spring comes around, they'll be ready to go in the ground and bloom and be so beautiful for us. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today, guys. We'll see y'all in the next one. Grand Rising to all.